everyone. My name is Evie Lupine. Welcome back to my channel, and today I have another video for you all. Today, I want to take us back to basics and cover something I haven't talked about in detail for years on my channel: pet play. That's right, we are going to get into everything you need to know to get started, from how to know what kind of pet you are to beginner-friendly scene ideas. Even if you think pet play might not be your thing, stick around, because you might be surprised just how many different kinks pet play can tap into. With that being said, though, let's start by defining what pet play is. I personally see pet play as a form of role play done in a BDSM context where one takes on the role or persona of a pet. And I realize this is a broad definition, but I picked it for a good reason. I find that discussions online about pet play tend to have more prescriptive views of what pet play has to be, sometimes without realizing that's what's happening. For example, stating that pet play always involves being in a power exchange relationship, that it has to be done with a partner, that it must be degrading, or that you have to take on the role of a specific animal while doing it. While all of these things can be true about the way that some people do pet play, none of these are a requirement for everyone across the board. So, be wary if you're looking for information about this kink elsewhere online and you find statements like pet play is a type of dom-sub relationship, or all pets are submissive, or the like, because unless the statement is pet play requires consent first, there are always exceptions to those supposed rules, right? So I know that for me, when I was brand new to the BDSM community in 2015, which, oh my God, was almost 10 years ago now, a lot of the information out there about pet play was inherently limiting. I was excited about the prospect of being a pet because it seemed really fun and seemed like it resonated with a side of myself I hadn't let out in a long time, but the way that people described it online was a little off-putting. Back then, many bloggers and educators talking about pet play had this old school mentality that all real pet play would be grounded in a 24/7, that is all the time, total power exchange relationship. A relationship where the submissive gives up all their power or authority to their dominant partner every day without restrictions. Pet play was then used as either a punishment tool to humiliate a submissive or to break them because, it's so awful being a human being to being treated like an animal, like a pet, right? Yeah, it's so terrible. Or it was used as a way to reinforce the power disparity of the relationship. The D-type is this big, smart human, and the S-type is this silly, worthless little pet who isn't even good enough to be worthy of sitting on furniture or eating food from a plate at the table. If it's your thing, I do want to clarify, though, that this way of doing pet play is valid. This is a legitimate experience that many people do enjoy. But it is far from the only way of doing this kind of roleplay. For example, around a decade ago, when I was first getting into the scene, there was a new way of doing pet play that was gaining popularity. Rather than being about degradation, this form of pet play was more focused on the aesthetics and loving, positive power exchange, emphasizing caretaking. The pet wasn't just a lesser because of their position, they were cute, precious things worthy of protection. This era of pet play on social media was full of pastel-colored tails and skater skirts and ribbons and many collars. So many collars. It was a lighter, less intense form of roleplay compared to what came before it as the dominant form. While it has since waned in popularity thanks to social media censorship, it's left an indelible mark on what people consider possible under the pet play label, which I do think is mostly a good thing. Though these two forms of pet play not only give us a sense of how different people do pet play, it also gives some examples of why why people do it. Some people use it as an outlet for emotional sadomasochism. They like feeling humiliated and degraded by being forced into a pet role rather than choosing it because it represents some critical aspect of who they are or because it's fun for them to do. Other people enjoy being cared for as a beloved pet with lots of brushing and treats and praise. They find this to be an affirming, positive, building experience. For some, pet play is an outlet for self-expression and having fun. They see acting like a pet as a way to express their personality or as a way to enjoy the kinds of things they wouldn't be allowed to do or allowed to enjoy in their everyday human life. Being a pet can create a space for judgment-free fun, whether by chasing a laser pointer or by wrestling with a toy. It can also be a massive stress reliever. Many people report that doing pet play allows them to unwind, get out of their heads, and stop thinking so much about their everyday life worries, like whether they're gonna make pasta or tacos for dinner, or that they need to remember to pay that bill when they get home. The same is often said, not just by people who are pets, but by those who play with them, often called owners or handlers. They also say that pet play can be a way to relax and just enjoy themselves with a partner without regular life stuff getting in the way all the time. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the obvious fact that for many, pet play is also a turn-on. One only needs to look at the popularity of butt-plug pet tales in mainstream adult stories to see that it can also just be a sex thing. And no, by the way, there is no correlation whatsoever between wanting to do pet play in the bedroom with another human adult and wanting to do something with an actual animal. The two are totally separate. Bedroom pet play tends to be more about eroticizing the archetypal characteristics we associate with those animals, like the playfulness of a puppy, alongside the power imbalance inherent in such interactions, rather than trying to replicate and substitute for something that would otherwise be a crime. I know some people will just not believe me when I say the two are completely unrelated, but it's not just me saying this. There has never been any correlation in any of the research I have read that says an interest in one leads to an interest in the other. They are two totally separate things as far as our current science is concerned, and I feel like that research is fairly adequate, and I don't know any mainstream sex psychologists that would argue to the contrary. So maybe now it is starting to make sense why people like this whole pet roleplay thing. You can understand how it might be relaxing. After all, maybe at one point you too liked playing pretend, and one day you were suddenly too grown up to keep doing it. And pet play might be a way to recapture that spirit of imagination as an adult. Or maybe you like humiliation, and the idea of being a pet eating scraps off the floor is precisely your kind of thing. But now you have to stop and ask yourself a few things. How do you do pet play? And what kind of pet do you want to be? Traditionally in BDSM, we have three major subtypes of pet play: pony play, kitten play, and puppy play. Puppy play is associated with the gay men's community, but anyone, including yours truly, can be a puppy. Kitten play has historically been popular with younger female submissives and is the newest out of the three to gain prominence. Pony play is likely to be the oldest thanks to its representation in popular erotic novels like Anne Rice's Sleeping Beauty trilogy and adult alternative artwork like the stuff featured in early Bizarre magazine illustrations. It also tends to be the most evenly split across genders and has appeal in the gay men's, lesbian, and pansexual/heterosexual BDSM scenes. But rest assured, picking out what kind of pet you want to be is not like picking your starter Pokemon at the beginning of a new Pokemon game. You aren't locked out of the other choices forever, and you aren't necessarily constrained to these three either. While ponies, puppies, and kittens are the most common, many other types of pets do exist. Some people prefer to roleplay as other barnyard or farm animals like pigs or cows, while still taking on that quintessentially pet role. I've also met people who are bunnies, foxes, coyotes, wolves, raccoons, red pandas, ravens, possums, mice, bats, lizards, parrots, you name it, even a dragon. If it makes sense to you and you feel like a pet while you do it, Congrats! You're doing pet play. You can be one type of pet with one partner and a different kind with someone else. You can change which one you most identify with over time or identify as more than one species simultaneously. There are no hard and fast rules when it comes to this part of it. If you want to be a hybrid bunny cat one day and a puppy the next, go for it. You have my permission. But I understand that having it be so open-ended can be a little less than helpful when you're just starting and you might want some guidance. So, how do you know what type of pet you would enjoy being the most? I know when I first started, there was a lot of gendered assumptions about pet play. Girls were always kittens and boys were always puppies. Heaven help you if you did not fit into the gender binary or if you didn't like either one of those two options. There was simply nothing out there unless you wanted to do some kind of humiliation pig play type situation. For the first few days after I discovered pet play and decided I wanted to try it for myself, I just assumed I would be a kitten because I didn't see any other options for women, which sucked. So I am here to tell you right now, you can be any kind of pet you want, regardless of your gender identity or your sexual orientation. Don't let anyone tell you differently. I have met plenty of cis men who are kittens and girls like me who are puppies, and more than a few non-binary ponies and foxes. But that also unfortunately means gender is not a great way to narrow down what kind of pet you might be. So instead, I recommend going off of your personality characteristics, what draws you to kink, and the archetypes we commonly associate with certain animals. For example, a pony may be strong-willed, like an unbroken wild stallion, or they may be a gentle giant who feels great satisfaction from hard labor. A kitten may have high energy, be mischievous, or be prissy and demanding, like an ill-tempered young royal. Or they could even be a lazy cat who lives for napping in someone's lap all day long. A puppy may be playful and silly, or a loyal working dog who needs a complex task to feel satisfied. They may also embody the idea of man's best friend, always willing to be there for you when you need a snuggle or a friendly face lick. Do any of these resonate with your own personality? Do any of these match with how a friend might describe you? Are you bratty, naughty, obedient, a good listener, or a hard worker? Do any of these things match on to how we anthropomorphize pets? Do you maybe see a bit of yourself in the shy, reserved bunny or the noble, hard-to-tame wolf? Hopefully these give you an idea of where to start, and it should be just a starting point. As anyone with actual pets can tell you, animals have their own unique personalities. I've been around dogs that acted like cats and cats that acted more like dogs. Just because you might see yourself as mischievous doesn't mean you have to be a kitten, for example, if that doesn't sit right with you. Naughty foxes, ponies, raccoons, and puppies do also exist. And if you are still completely stuck at this point, a few things might be going on. One, you might relate more to a hybrid animal. Maybe you aren't quite a puppy, but a wolf dog is about right. Or you might vibe more with a less conventional animal like a dragon or a pet bird. It's also important to remember that not every pet is submissive. I have a separate video discussing this in detail, so I will keep my explanation here short. However, being a pet animal may not feel right if you think about it from a submissive or bottom perspective. But when you switch things around, I guess literally in this case, to start thinking about it from being a dominant or a toppy pet, it might begin to click for you. Maybe you aren't a bratty kitten at all, but a regal queen cat who is the boss of her domain. Or maybe you're the alpha mare of a herd of horses and you only want to play with other ponies. Or you may want to be a pet in the sense of being a kept companion and you don't feel like trying to roleplay being a specific type of animal. That is also a valid approach. While less common, being a human pet is also a thing where instead of acting like, say, a dog or a cat, you retain your internal sense of being human while taking on or being made to take on the social role of being a pet. One of the best things about pet play that I hope is coming across in this video is that it is a highly individual experience and you get to decide how you do it, not anyone else. And so, moving on from that, once you have an idea of the type of pet you'd like to be, you might wonder to yourself, of course, okay, so I need to have a partner now to do this with, right? Or maybe you already have a partner and you want to know what they can do to help you as a brand new pet. And oh boy, do I have some ideas for you. First, I want to talk about some of the common ways people actually do pet play in the community because surprisingly, this is actually not a kink that requires you to have a partner. Yep, you can do pet play totally solo. This is sometimes called being a stray or an unowned pet, but I don't always love that terminology since it sort of implies that the right state of being a pet is to have a partner, and while that might be true for some individuals, I don't want people overall to feel lesser or other if they decide that their pet side is something they want to keep just to themselves or only do in groups with friends. So I prefer just to say solo pet instead. I think it's a little bit more open-ended that way. Community activities are also an important part of pet play. Whether you have a partner or not, many pets, especially puppies and ponies, like congregating with each other. This can take on the form of a mosh, usually a non-sexual, play-focused hangout where puppies get together with toys and play with each other. Or it might be more like a herd where ponies and other types of pets roam around outside, go on trail rides, jump over obstacles, and the like. BDSM play spaces also sometimes host petting zoo events, where all kinds of pets and animal role players can sign up to stay in an area and get attention from other kinksters. For the truly dedicated, some groups even host hunt events, where human handlers and pets work together to chase quarry through the fields or the woods. The fact that there are so many different ways for pets to hang out together in our community is one of my favorite things about pet play. It is a great, low-key way not just to get to know your local BDSM scene, but also to make friends and have some judgment-free physical fun in a safe space. But group play is not going to be for everyone, and that's totally fine. I am more of a lapdog type myself, and I can be overwhelmed in high-energy group spaces. So what can you do if you're someone who prefers to do pet play one-on-one rather than in a group setting? Lots of things. For puppies, activities like playing with toys and playing fetch are common. If it's not entirely clear at this point, the average pet play scene, by the way, usually involves being on your knees, though lots of ponies do stay bipedal, and scrambling around on all fours. Trick training using treats is also a very popular choice alongside leash training. Just like other forms of training in kink, this is a scene type where you are teaching the pet the proper way to do something. Some pets are quick learners and pick up on things immediately, whereas others must be trained repeatedly, over and over and over again, almost like they don't actually want to learn what they're doing. Sort of like the pet version of doing position training. Ponies do similar training activities, such as learning dressage, role-playing being broken, or training how to pull carts or jump over obstacles. Kittens often enjoy chasing after toys as well, or they use things like laser pointers. And pets of all kinds tend to enjoy grooming and getting treats. This could be as simple as calling your partner a good pet while you stroke their head, or as complicated as doing a full-on grooming scene where you wrestle them into a tub and you bathe them and you comb them and you style their hair and maybe even trim it if you're extra bold. And sometimes, even despite all the different activities that we can do in pet play, the most satisfying form of it is doing almost nothing at all. Just putting on some gear and curling up on a pillow or blanket on the floor at your partner's feet while they play video games or do a puzzle or watch a movie or something. And by the way, quick aside here, gear is the equipment that pet players wear to outwardly look more like the pet they're trying to play as or to enhance their headspace. This can include things like fur tails, ears, collars, masks, hoods, harnesses, and even pommets. I've avoided talking about gear too much up to this point because people can get really fixated on it, and to be honest, you don't need it to do pet play, and I myself rarely use it these days. You don't have to have gear to enjoy pet play, but it is something that many people use to enhance their play and separate their everyday self or other types of identities from their pet self more easily. Plus, it looks pretty cute. And in any case, if none of these forms of play appeal to you, don't worry about it. There are so many ways to do pet play, including ways that overlap with kinks you may already enjoy. We've already discussed humiliation and degradation a few times now, but on the opposite side of the spectrum, praise kink and pet play go together like peanut butter and jelly. The phrase good pet was made for this. Honestly, the quickest way to know if you'll like pet play is to see how you respond to that phrase. And as far as other types of roleplay go, DDLG and CGL often get combined with pet play, either through literally sharing dungeon nights together or through folks who enjoy doing both, doing one and then the other, even fusing their headspaces together. If you're already a little, why not try playing dress up as a kitten, or see what it feels like to play as a baby puppy and not just a human baby? You can also combine things like service with pet play too. After all, we often train animals to do things for us. Maybe that's through the stereotypical, Fido fetches slippers and morning paper routine, or maybe you learn how to do more complicated things like turning on and off light switches on command. How limited this is by a biological animal's actual capacity for doing tasks is up to you. I've even seen people take on a more emotional support animal role or even a service animal type role. In one of my first pet play relationships, my partner had type 1 diabetes, and we joked that I was kind of becoming their diabetic alert dog because I was learning about the signs that might mean they should check their blood sugar levels. But regardless, the best way to get started is by trying out whatever form of play appeals the most to you. If you need to build up your confidence first, which a lot of people have to, there is no shame in practicing what it feels like to walk around on all fours in the privacy of your bedroom, or try out your barks or meows in the shower or in the car by yourself. Don't plan for anything too elaborate at first when you begin planning scenes. Just do a simple thing or two and see what it feels like. Maybe have your partner feed you by hand and stroke your hair while calling you a good pup or a good kitten. Put a big pillow on the floor and pretend it's your pet bed while you watch a nature documentary together. It might be a little awkward at first, but with time, it will feel more comfortable if pet play is the right fit for you. And you might also want to experiment with different pet headspaces, different types of gear. Just really try things out and see what, if anything, is going to best tap into your pet headspace if you have one. I know that there are topics I did not quite fit into this video because I knew if I talked about them, it would add an extra 15 minutes to the runtime. So I didn't talk about things like getting into pet headspace or pet space. I have a video that's kind of recent where I talk about that alongside other kind of special forms of subspace you can watch down below. And also, I didn't really talk about how pet play and power exchange work together because that's a huge topic. And if you all want to see a specific video on pet play and power exchange, I would love to make it. So let me know if you want to see that one in a comment down below. And I also want to add onto this as well here because I realize kind of listening to everything that I said now, I want to make sure that it's really clear that regardless not just of your gender or your sexual orientation, but also your mobility level, if you use mobility aids, if you're in a wheelchair, pet play is also very much something that you can do. Everything can be modified to accommodate you and your needs. And if somebody tells you they're like, oh, you can't do pet play because you're in a wheelchair, or somebody tells you, you can't do pet play because you have a visual impairment, that is, I can't say the word that I want to say on YouTube, but that is bull. And I am very sorry if anyone says that to you. That's not true. The pet play community is such, and it should be, a very vibrant, wide open space for people of all different kinds. And it's what I really, really love about the pet play community on top of everything else that I love about it. I just want it to continue to be an open space where people don't feel like they can't do something or shouldn't do something because of some aspect about who they are. But with that being said, that is everything I wanted to go over today. Thank you all so much for listening to me ramble about pet play for such a long time. I hope that you all enjoyed it. Any other videos you want to see about pet play, either specific videos and different types of pet play, other kind of subtypes of pet play in terms of again, that power exchange and pet play intersection, I'd love to know your thoughts about anything else you want to see from me in a comment down below. Happy to talk about all of that. I'd also love to hear your thoughts and feelings about this one in a comment down below. If you're not already and you would like to, please do subscribe because I make videos twice a week about all different kink and BDSM related topics. And finally, if you want to support what I do, the best you can do that is with Patreon. A link to that will be down below. If you do already support me there, thank you so much. It means the absolute world to me. And until I see you all next time, I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.